Today, I want to do a meditation on the reality of self-improvement. You see, there are many self-professed self-improvement gurus, perhaps like myself, that would have you believe there is no wavering in their consistency to the teachings that they perpetuate every single day to their audience. And I can assure you, this is not the case. Even myself is subject to a wavering, perhaps in my ability to execute on my disciplines every single day. And if you are so blinded by that reality, then you will be privy to so much negative emotion, so much guilt, so much shame, so much apathy that you will never crawl out of it. So the question I'm attempting to answer and meditate on is, how do you recourse when you relapse, when you go back to old habits that are condemning of your future, that are diminishing of your quality of life? How do you pivot? How do you pivot? So the first question is, or the first answer rather is, you were put here for a human experience. So it's time to take the human experience. The human experience is flawed. Human beings are fallacious. They're flawed beings, right? And the reality is, in this particular incarnation, you are going to experience that flaw. You're going to experience inconsistencies. You're going to experience relapse. You're going to experience negativity. But that is all part of your plan, right? I am just borrowing Joseph. Joseph is an interesting human being. He's very, very determined. And he has a very good heart. But he does suffer from complacency. He does suffer from complacency, and he does suffer from temptation. Lust is his karma. And that is what he is here to sort out in this particular incarnation, right? And there's no getting away from that lesson. I'm going to have to take that lesson every single day. And some days I win and some days I lose. And that is the reality of the matter. So that is one way, that is one answer that will probably sit better with your soul and yourself and your awareness, because that's what you truly are. You are awareness. You are consciousness. You are not this being. You are having a human experience. You are not a human being. That is one way of addressing the issue of relapse. The other way to address the issue is to evaluate. And I believe this is the most conducive one, the most practical one to your success, right? It is to evaluate yourself on a schedule that you deem appropriate to evaluate yourself, without being condemning, without being belittling to your human experience, without being desensitive towards it, right? Meaning that I have a process in my weekly regime where I review my week and I ask myself the question, what went well, what went poorly, what needs to be kept the same, right? It is very interesting and frightening to me how very little men have these kinds of self-reflective practices. I have been so what would you say, enthusiastic, so strong, so forthright on the fact that the lack of self-reflective practices in your life is the reason why you are not able to properly discern your emotions. Meaning you cannot distinguish between the negative and the positive because you're not reviewing them, because you're not understanding them, because you're not empathizing with them, because you're not being intelligent, because you're not learning the language of the body. And this is something I suffered with. I'm not sitting here on my ivory tower. I concede that I have these moments of difficulty almost every single day, right? But it is in my meditative practice, my self-reflective practice, where I find a lot of peace. And that's what you really want. You want peace. It's not that you're getting rid of these emotions, the shame, the apathy, the guilt, depression. We try our best to escape and run from fear. But the reality is, again, you're here from a human experience, and fear, apathy, depression, guilt, anxiety is part of the human experience. The key is to not identify with those kinds of emotions, is to let them pass, not through you, but over you. It's a line from Dune. Fear is the mind killer. Let your fear pass over you. And once it has passed, you will be all that remains. And that is the, Frank Herbert, I believe, genius in that fact, because he understood from a very fundamental premise that He's not his emotions. He has emotions, but he's not his emotions himself, right? And it can be more damaging. It can be more detrimental to your progress to identify and sit and stool in the seat of some of these negative emotions. And that's not going to be conducive to your well-being and you recoursing, you pivoting from those moments where things go wrong. Life happens. Life throws lessons. Life throws challenges at you. So back to my practice and how I would invite you to take on something similar. Take some time, take some peace, take a moment where you are free from the claws of distractions, from the screens, from the laptops, from the iPads, from the phones, and allow yourself to sit and be mindful of your breath, be mindful of the intimate kinetic sensations of your inner body, the very beat of your heart, the pulsing of blood through your veins. Become very sensitive towards that, right? It is in this kind of alpha state that you're able to review your week from a very, very potent and very, very powerful and omniscient point of view. You are going to ask yourself the question, what went well in your week? What systems do you employ that were conducive to your success? I'm always a very, very big proponent on systems and goals, meaning if you're not getting the goal that you want, your system is broken. But if you are getting the goal that you want, then your systems are bulletproof, right? They can't always be bulletproof. When they're not bulletproof, we have to address the system. For example, I have a very good system in play for my mornings. I do 4 hours of focus work every single morning. I sit here with a black coffee. I'm in a fasted state. My cognitive capabilities are at their peak. I can get into flow very, very easily, and I can get a lot of work done. I'm free from guilt and shame in the evenings when I maybe engage in some leisure because all the hard work is done. That is a system for me that works very, very well. But it didn't always work that well. I used to have breakfast. I used to feel sluggish. I used to get fatigue. I used to get brain fog, and it would be detrimental to the results I would like to see. This is a good example in the way that you can start to see if the systems are giving you the results that you want. Are you content? Are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Are you moving in the correct direction? There are some systems I have where I've had to pivot, where I've gotten complacent, where perhaps instead of eating my prepped meal with my macros, my protein, my carbohydrates, my fat, I don't eat that in an evening. Maybe I'm weak. Maybe I get a takeaway instead. Is it giving me the results that I want? It's giving me pleasure in the moment. Maybe I'm serving myself in the now, in the present moment, and I'm foregoing the vision of myself I have in the future. That's the sacrifice I'm making at that time. How can I pivot? How can I do something differently next time? Maybe I can make that meal more desirous. Maybe I can make it more compelling instead of bland, let's say. I'm a caveman when it comes to my meals. I just eat for what I need. I don't really forego taste. I just shovel it down. I forego taste is the correct way of saying that. But if I made things more attractive, I spent a little bit more time increasing my skills and my ability to cook and create a very compelling meal. That may work in my favor. Yeah. Or maybe I'm tired. Maybe I'm too tired to cook and I choose the easy option out. We all have these moments, guys. We all have those moments when we regress, where we take a nap when we should be working, when we take a day off when we should be working. Compassion maybe is something that I'm not very well versed in, being compassionate and loving to myself when I'm in those particular moments of, I don't want to say weakness, maybe vulnerability. Maybe it is weakness. Maybe that's not a compassionate thing to say, but I do believe it's important to come back to the first point that I made, which is that you're having a human experience, right? You are driving a vehicle that is inherently flawed, that the engine is going to die. The navigation system isn't going to work. You're going to have to change the tires. Your steering is going to maybe be skewed to the left at some point. A remarkable piece of equipment but it is flawed. We can get better at driving at it though if we take routine stops and check the oil, make sure the tires are working fine. So I think it's important for me to communicate and to conclude on the fact that evaluation is very, very conducive to how you're going to get the results that you want to see. Don't overlook the importance, the potency of reviewing your systems if you're not getting what you want. That is no theory, that is a fact. Speak soon.